it's main event time, ladies and gentlemen. Our final fight of the evening is, of course, another pro fight. Let's bring out Magic Mike Roberts.
Magic Mike Roberts has fought 2 current UFC fighters, holds a win over Jason Knight, who he actually took on twice, has fought all across the Southeast, has a good submission game, a 7-second KO on his record, took 2 years off before returning in March, really wants a win. Obviously, 30 years old out of Louisville's Derby City MMA, has been training for 11 years. Told us that he expects to outclass Stanford on the feet, on the ground, and finish in the first round, Rayshawn.
Wow, that's a bold statement because Charlie Stanford is an animal and he's not afraid to mix it up. But again, I saw tape of Roberts, and Roberts not afraid to mix it up either. This is definitely going to be a firefight. Definitely has Fight of the Year candidate written all over it.
Charles Stanford, there's not a lot he hasn't seen, which we will talk about momentarily, but man, Mike Roberts has been all across the East Coast fighting, and now comes to Kentucky where he has met some success. I believe he's 2-0 in the state. I could be wrong, but I believe he's 2-0 based on my research. He's also finishing up school to practice medicine as a PA, so he's got a lot going on even beyond his professional MMA career.
Here's the winning raffle ticket. 6-6, 3-0, 7-8, 5. 5 is the last number. Outstanding. And his opponent, Charlie Trinity Stanford.
If you have been to more than one MMA event in this area, you have probably seen Charles Stanford fight. He is a fixture on the Northern Kentucky MMA circuit, and he's looking to right a lot of wrongs. He's dropped 7 of his last 8, but like I said, there's not a lot he hasn't seen. He's been around the block. He's seen strikers, he's seen grapplers, he's seen wrestlers, he's seen people that combine all of those, and he's defending his home turf here in Covington, Kentucky.
Charles, like you said, he's a workhorse. If you've ever been to a show here, I guarantee that you have saw Charlie Stanford fight. And if you ever saw Charlie Stanford fight, you know he's coming out like a fireball. Guns are blazing, ready to go, ready to bang it out.
To give you an update on the ring conditions, referee Chris Kimmon said that he will walk into this fight 235, walk out 220. It is a warm evening here at Premier MMA Championship.
And downright humid. Can't forget that.
It is main event time. Charlie Stanford, Magic Mike Roberts.
This will be a striker's delight, I guarantee it.
Now, Roberts does have a good submission game, but as I mentioned, man, a 7-second KO to his credit.
This is Premier MMA Championship live on Fight TV. And this is our main event, scheduled for 3 5-minute rounds. Introducing first in the red corner. He stands 5'7", weighing 145 pounds. Fighting out of Louisville, Kentucky, representing Derby City MMA, Magic Mike Roberts. In the blue corner, he stands 5'9", weighing 145 pounds. Fighting out of Cincinnati, Ohio, representing G-Force MMA, Charlie Trinity Stanford.
Charlie Stanford looking to make that 6-9 record look a little nicer. He's taking on Magic Mike Roberts in this main event.
Who's also trying to make it an even 500.
Two consummate professionals in the cage, and we are underway. Our main event scheduled for 3 5-minute rounds. Magic Mike Roberts and Charlie Stanford, Premier MMA Championship 8 in Covington, Kentucky. Charles Stanford returns fire on an early strike from Roberts.
And that stumbled Roberts that right.
Roberts going for a spinning back kick, didn't exactly have the technique behind it. Stanford keeping his distance, but warned by the referee to keep his fingers up instead of out.
And that right keeps finding a home on Roberts.
Yeah, Stanford is countering with regularity, shakes off the leg kick from Roberts, who immediately tries a spinning back kick.
And like I said, I knew these two were going to stand and bang.
And Roberts had no intentions of coming from Louisville just to lay down for the hometown boy in Stanford, as we see a nice combination from him.
And Charlie has a hell of a chin. I've seen him take strikes and just keep coming forward.
Stanford starting to switch up his game a little bit. You saw the outside leg kick to the lead leg of Roberts, and Roberts answers with an inside leg kick of his own, but Stanford didn't look too amused by that.
Stanford is not respecting Roberts' strikes, and that could be a big mistake if he keeps on, because it only takes one.
I don't think Stanford should be amused by those spinning back kicks either, because none have entertained the idea of hitting him at all. That knee connected from Stanford to the body of Roberts, however. Oh, this is some good boxing from Stanford, really throwing those combinations together as Roberts goes to the teep.
Right, and that was an awesome jab. It was a really stiff jab.
I believe Stanford just spoke to his corner in the middle of a stand-up exchange.
Yeah, he's really not respecting Roberts' stand-up at all.
That was a nice lunging hook from Roberts, who presses Stanford up against the cage.
And that was a nice
applies
sweep.
a knee, takes Stanford down, and this is where Roberts wants to be.
Yeah,
Front headlock applied. He's got the arm in, however, and plenty of time to work. If this were an amateur fight, much like we saw earlier, the round would be almost done. Now he gets he briefly had the arm around, looking to clinch those hands.
And Roberts stuffed the knee in there to give something for Stanford to think about. He's trying to work this guillotine, and I really think he should let it go and step off and let the ref bring it back to their feet and try to regain it.
A knee, although Stanford's knee is down, so Roberts is going to have to watch where he places that. To the body, absolutely fine, which is where he goes. An interesting cradle around the outside of the head, underneath the leg, essentially a near leg pin from Roberts.
Yeah, it definitely knees to the solar plexus, make you react, and that's what Roberts was waiting for. He's waiting for Charlie Stanford to turn away so he could cradle him and pull him down.
And Stanford not having much luck getting back to his feet, which is definitely where he wants this fight to be based on the first half of the round, because he was finding incredible success on the feet and none on the ground. This is all Mike Roberts.
Right.
Throwing
Roberts
elbows.
throwing those elbows.
Sets those up to move to mount. That was very nice. Again, elbows to the head, legal in pro MMA, not legal in amateur
tying
MMA.
up that left hand.
And I really think that Roberts is just tying up the arm to distract Stanford, and instead is going to strikes. Stanford not really moving from this pinned position on his back, not bucking a lot. His feet aren't necessarily next to his bottom and able to help him bridge, but he does work up to a turtle position. That doesn't last very long.
Right, and Stanford has had many fights where he had issues on the ground. Would hope like by now that he would have worked on that.
And after a round that looked like it belonged to Charlie Stanford in the first 2 minutes, Mike Roberts has come back to dominate the remaining 3 minutes, and that's
it. That's it.
He finishes Charlie Stanford.
Wow.
And Mike Roberts' reign of terror in Kentucky continues.
He turned it around. He had some issues at the beginning of the round with Charlie striking.
And Charlie Stanford, the hometown boy, is down in our main event. The referee has to instruct Mike Roberts to take a step back as Charlie Stanford still looking to recover. Vicious ground and pound as we see here from Mike Roberts out of Derby City MMA. A big win for him to pick up here in Cincinnati, or just outside of Cincinnati rather. But
there was that forearm right across the ear.
On the feet, entertaining. On the ground, entertaining. We saw where Charlie Stanford was strong. That was on the feet. We saw where Mike Roberts was strong. That was on the ground. Charlie Stanford busted open in front of us. He is still being tended to as we speak. Yeah. Being helped up after our Premier MMA Championship 8 main event. If you're Charles Stanford, where do you go from here? Obviously, he's got some work to do on his ground game. He's now lost 8 of his last 9, and he was a very promising prospect coming in as a pro fighter, and still clearly has an abundance of talent, especially on the feet.
He does. He has amazing talent on his feet, and that's the issue. He concentrates on his stand-up. I would take some time off and work on my ground game, work on nothing but my ground game, become a jits guy, and then come back with a strong, overpowering ground game to complement my hands.
Charlie Stanford back to his feet. Mike Roberts has now won 2 of his last 3. And a pro for almost 6 years is Roberts, and this is, you got to believe, one of his bigger victories, of course, as I mentioned, Jason Knight, who has went on to compete in the UFC. He split a pair of fights with Jason.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, 4 minutes, 50 seconds into round number 1. The winner of our main event by knockout, Magic Mike Roberts.
Mike Roberts with a ground and pound victory.
Ground and pound clinic. That was fantastic work.
Yeah, you couldn't write that out better. That was amazing. That was amazing from his transition against the...
Thank you, DJ Grind. What a great job tonight. Magic Mike Roberts, our winner of our main event tonight, has something he'd like to say.
I'd like to thank all of you for coming out and watching me fight. Mostly, I'd like to thank the guys in my gym, Derby City MMA, so I can't talk at the moment. My teammates that drove from Louisville, Tommy, Randy, and Matt. All the guys that helped me get ready. Also the guys at Court MMA, I really appreciate it. But lastly, I appreciate Charlie for giving me this opportunity to fight. Tough dude. Wasn't expecting anything less. Thank you.
Thank you for fighting for us tonight, Magic Mike. All right, we also are going to hear from our good friend Charlie Trinity Stanford. Charlie?
Hey, man, I just want to thank everybody for coming out. Thank Mike for taking the fight. Yeah. This was my last fight, man. I'm done. I appreciate all you guys, you know.
Outstanding.
I mean, I appreciate all you guys, man, coming out to all my fights all these years, man. But yeah, I'm done, man. I'm just gonna coach. Thanks, man.
No, thank you, man. Let's hear it for Charlie.